Good morning and welcome to Macon-Bibb County Committee of the Whole meeting. Today is Tuesday, June the 22nd, and the time is now 9 o'clock. We do have a busy day today, but I do want to summarize just real quickly what we have going on today. First of all, we have our regular Committee of the Whole meeting this morning, which is beginning at 9 o'clock. We will have a presentation around 11 o'clock today, 11:15. We'll retire to lunch at that time and come back at 1 o'clock for two things. The first thing will be our e-bid hearing that happens concerning the Eisenhower Business District. That'll be at 1 o'clock. And shortly after that, we're going to have a call meeting at 1 o'clock to handle any items from today's consent agenda. I'd like to welcome each of you here today. And the first order of business is going to be approval of minutes. The approval of minutes for the Committee of the Whole from June the 8th, 2021. Can I get a motion? Got a motion to approve. Can I get a second? Got a second by Commissioner Watkins. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. The other thing I want to let everyone know is that items today that we pass to the consent agenda will be heard at 1 o'clock today as part of our call meeting. If there is an item on this agenda today that you need additional time and you like that carried over, it will be carried over to July 13th. I need to know that at the proper time. Otherwise, we're going to send those to the consent agenda. Item 3 is new alcohol beverage license. We've got several of those on the counter today. I believe there's 4. These are listed as new alcohol beverage license. Some of those are just transfers. Each of those have completed the surveys. Is there any reason not to take all these at one time? Anyone have a particular issue with one of those, Mr. Watkins?
District, so.
Okay. Is that a no, sir?
At my district, so.
Okay. If there's no objection to that, I would like to handle these all at one time if we can. Commissioner Lucas, you have an issue?
Again.
That I am.
I just think that we can go too fast sometimes. So I would like to have each one, since we don't do it another time, at least this time, let's have it read, and that might give people a chance if they have a question or whatever to do it. I appreciate it.
No problem. I will proceed accordingly. Thank you. Our first order of business is item 3A. This is a new alcohol beverage license for Raceway located on 5127 Mercer University Drive, Macon, Georgia 31210. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Howell. Any discussion in regards to this raceway? It's right there by the interstate at 475. All the paperwork's been completed and it should be in your packet. Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item B is a new alcohol beverage license for Greenwood Mart located at 5950 Hawkinsville Road, Macon, Georgia 31216. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Howell. Any discussion in regards to that item?
Again, I'm just curious, is this a new establishment or a changed business? Hard to tell from the application.
We got a picture of this one up as well. This is a business here. My understanding is that business has been in operation for a while. This is simply a transfer of ownership. Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Any further questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item C is new alcohol beverage license for Graffiti's Pizza located at 5577 Thomaston Road, Macon, Georgia. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Got a second by Commissioner Wilder. This is a new business, pizza located in the public shopping center on Thomaston Road. Any questions, Commissioner Watkins?
About the process, just remind me again why the change of ownerships are being recognized as new establishments. What was the reason for? Because I understand Graffiti's is a completely new business, but why the change of ownerships now all being labeled new businesses?
Commissioner, it's just because they're getting a new license, so the process is the same if it's a new owner in an existing building versus just a completely new construction, is because They still have to go through the background check. P&Z still checks to make sure that it's appropriate zoning usage. The engineering department rechecks all the distance measurements in case there's been like a school or a church or something that's opened up near the location since the last time there was a change of ownership. So they just go through the whole process from the beginning.
But for our records, I think it would be probably more beneficial if we note them as change of ownerships, because they are doing something different. The first two are doing something different from this third one, right?
That's correct.
We could.
Right.
It's just a note for us as we continue our process. And I know, like, on the application, there's a checkoff box, like at the top, whether or not it's a new business or a change of ownership. So not a big change to what we're doing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I don't have any disagreement with that. I think this is the way it's done when we got here. The other issue is that if we just list it as if we don't go through this process, it would only come to the mayor's office for approval or rejection like we do the renewals anyway. So this is an attempt to get it to everybody at the same time. But I do think what he's saying is we need to designate these as either a new business or a transfer, just for separation there, so we all understand that we get one in, this is a brand new business, or this is just simply a renewal. So we'll take care of that. Commissioner Lucas?
Yeah, I appreciate seeing the actual picture of the business. We appreciate our folks for doing that. But this also opens up the discussion that we've been having a long, long time, and that is, how accessible is alcohol all over the community. And so what I'd like to have at our next meeting is an estimate of how many folks are suffering with alcoholism, drug addiction, mental health issues in Macon-Bibb County, and I know somebody can do that research. Dr. Moffitt probably has it in his dissertation or something somewhere. But I'd like to get that. I know we can all do it, but I'd like it presented formally. And then also, I'd like for us to have that map. You remember a while back, I don't know whether it was under the new administration or the old one, where we had a map showing the locations of all of the establishments where alcohol was available. Now, folks drink whatever they want to drink. This is not going to stop them, but at least it will raise our awareness as to just how accessible these addictive substances are in our community, just for anybody's information, anybody who's interested. And then at some point, though, we have got to say enough is enough. We got enough in this area. We've got enough that's available over here. I think we've already got enough in 31211, and I think Commissioner Watkins thinks that there's already enough in 06 and what's the other one? 04. So, but anyway, we still legally have to approve these. There's no reason really not to, but I think that's information that we need to have on an ongoing basis. So I'd like to ask, I know that map has already been created, and it's just a matter of adding to it all of the new ones, which was probably 20 or 25 added to it, so we just see where these are located.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. Similar to what we did with the liquor store moratorium and payday lending in the beginning. Certainly, I know there's different rules and guidelines, but we can navigate that process. We'll look at that GIS mapping to have for everyone. Now, you want the Vice Marts included with the convenience stores, or you want everyone who sells beer and wine package?
Sales, the alcohol sales separate. And if that other information, is available, I'm sure it could be easily
Okay.
done.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously to be sent to consent agenda today. We also have a new alcohol beverage license for Light Mart located at 4535 Hartley Bridge Road. This is one of those transfers and renewals. All the surveys have been completed. All the information should be contained in your packet. That is my motion. Can I get a second? Got a second by Commissioner Wilder. Any further discussion in this item? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. I'm sorry, Commissioner Watkins?
Know what they do. It's my first time seeing them. Is this a renewal?
This is a renewal, yes, sir.
There's quite a bit on here on the airport, and I seem like they're the manager of it. So just,
What now?
could you go over this airport? It's like 4 things in the airport. I know y'all finna rush through, but.
No. We haven't got there yet. This was the light mark, item D. Yeah, we got the other one starting now. Not rushing that quick yet, but I'll oblige you in just a second. So we got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries will be sent to consent agenda. Now, Commissioner Watkins, we're going to head over to that. We do have 4 items on the agenda today concerning the airport, but before we get there, I do want to recognize the Booker T. Washington After Zone camp members who are here with us today. If you could please stand up. There you go. These are some of our youth that have come here today to learn more about how the governor operates, and we certainly appreciate you being here today, and we hope it's fruitful for you. But thank you for bringing those. Now we're going to move on to the Middle Georgia Regional Airport. I do have our representative here, Blake Roy, today to answer any questions for you as we move through this process. The first item on the agenda, item A, is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Michael E. Clark and Associates to provide professional consulting services for the retrofit roof project on Hangar A, Middle Georgia Regional Airport, in the amount of $12,000 to be paid from the airport fund, Airport Middle Georgia Regional Professional Services. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Howell. Now, this time, previously, the airport design, the roof design has been done already, and that has already been paid for. At this time, this is for professional services to consulting to complete the project. This is something that's been approved, and this is not coming out of our general fund. These are all airport funds, and that amount is $12,000. If I would, I'll have Mr. Blake Roy step up to the mic real quick to answer any questions you may have about this particular issue, and then we'll move on to the other ones accordingly. Anyone have any questions about this particular roof design or this consultant? Mr. Howell.
I just want to say that I'm glad after 5 years of leaking that we're getting this fixed.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Wynn?
Just wanted to be co-sponsor on A, B, C, and D.
A, B, C, D. I'm sorry, I got you on those. Thank you. So we got some new sponsors. We do appreciate you being here today. I know we'll have some questions on the next couple of issues here. So we've got a motion and a second on this particular issue. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item B is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a master service agreement with Holt Consulting Company, LLC, for provision of aviation consulting services at Middle Georgia Regional Airport. This particular consulting company has gone through our process, our procurement process. They were the top company that was selected on here, and previously we had another company that was retained, but the FAA required us, if we were going to choose another one, to go through a particular process. We have navigated that process, and this has been the selection here. So before we get a motion and a second on that, Blake, if you could tell us a little bit about the consultant and what their responsibility is going to be for this particular project.
Certainly. So this is an action engineering consulting agreement. They will be under a 5-year contract with Macon-Bibb County to provide engineering and consulting services for the Middle Georgia Regional Airport. This will include their first project will be the runway extension design, so designing the entire runway extension and then seeing that through completion over the next 3 or 4 years, as well as any additional projects or capital improvement projects we have along the way.
And it's my understanding now that we have a grant application in process that we're hoping to get approved this year. Yes. And one of the responsibilities for this company without delay is going to be to do the design of the runway extension.
That's correct. Yeah, we'll begin the design project for that project.
Okay. So I look forward to hearing more about that in the near future. This item is my motion. Can I get a second to approve? Second by Commissioner Wynn. Any further discussion in this regards? Commissioner Watkins.
I guess, yeah. Who's previously been providing the service?
So our current consultant is GMC, and they've been with us since 2017.
Yes, it was a 5-year contract, and it expired, and they've been providing us poor service.
So we'll actually be, it is a 5-year contract. It expires in, I think, January of 2022. So this will be a renewal, new consultant to start. Yes, sir.
Okay. And how much is the actual contract for? I'm not.
So they're paid per project through the grants that we receive from the FAA or from GDOT, and then their fees are included in the grant project. So there's nothing out of pocket that we pay today for this contract.
Did we decide upon that their fees are set at 5% of the contracts, or it varies from contract to contract?
It varies contract to contract, and we actually, the FAA requires that we do what's called an independent fee estimate on all of their fees that they give us. So we have to consult with a second consultant to do an independent fee estimate on their costs for every project.
Okay. So in the scoring of, I guess, the company, what makes them great? How many people actually bid? What was the competition for this?
There were 4 official bidders on this contract, and they were the top selected from our selection committee.
Like based on their
Based on
can't be
the
their fee structure, so I'm just
Sure,
curious.
based on their previous work history at other airports, their familiarization with the design and the runway extension project that we have ongoing, their familiarization with an EMAS system, which will be part of the runway extension, as well as any type of other consulting projects they have within the state of Georgia. There are several other airports in the state already, so they're very familiar with GDOT practices as well as the FAA.
Thank you, Commissioner Watkins. Any additional questions? Hearing no questions, we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item C is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a reimbursable agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration in the amount of $59,235.84 for the FAA to perform a design review for relocation of the runway 5 MALSR to be paid from the airport budget. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Got a second by I'll get the motion from Commissioner Wynn, a second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion in that regards, Commissioner Lucas?
Yes, this, the airport budget, how much is in that budget now? Does anybody know?
The O&M budget, our annual budget, I think we're right at 1.8 right now, something like that, 1.8, yes, ma'am.
This is not the budget that the industrial authority deals with. This is the budget that you're given as the consultant, the contractor working for Macon-Bibb.
Yes, ma'am, that's
It's
correct.
from
This
that
is not the
budget.
industrial authority.
Okay.
And my understanding is this $59,000 is going to be for FAA to actually move their items that they own on the runway to other areas to accommodate the extension, and we're going to be front loading that, and we'll get reimbursed for that.
Yes, sir, that's correct. They'll move all their items, do the design for this project, and it's reimbursed at 100% from the FAA.
Okay. Any additional questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of this motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. The final item related to the airport is item D, which is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a work authorization with Goodwin Mills and Kenwood in an amount of $73,412.76 for the purpose of updating the environmental assessment required for the extension of the runway 523 to be paid for from the airport budget. That's Commissioner Wynn's motion. Can I get a second? Got Commissioner Jones again on that, and then Commissioner Bronson. We do have a motion and a second. Any question in regards to this particular item? Commissioner Jones.
No questions. All of this we've been wanting for a long, long time, and it'll be so beneficial to Middle Georgia and especially Macon-Bibb County. So I'm going to be added as a sponsor for all 4 as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Howell?
I'd like to be added as a sponsor of all 4 too. One
All right.
quick question. There's no changes in the design. We're still going forward with the, 600 feet extension?
17.
Yes, sir, that's correct. It's 600 foot of additional pavement, and then a 300 foot EMAS bed, which is basically a sand pit in case an aircraft does run off the end of the runway, rather than dropping onto Avondale Mill Road. So it'll be installed as part of that. So it's a 900 foot total extension.
Which makes us be able to bring larger aircraft in to be serviced and.
Yes, sir, that's correct. We'll have 7,100 feet of total runway, so that'll allow pretty much every aircraft other than the large aircraft, the 747s and A380s and whatnot to come in. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Wynn?
No, sir, Commissioner Howard just asked the question I want to ask about the size of airplanes that could come in.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All
See,
taking place.
somebody wants to know what
in-
district it's in. Right now, it's in Commissioner Lucas' district. We may never know.
Yeah, you can. I guess I need to be added as a co-sponsor, and I'm pleased with this work. So since it's in my district, if you would add me as a
Yes, ma'am, we'll do that.
sponsor.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're all looking forward to it. As many of you recall, we went out to Dean Baldwin to review the wonderful hangar they got. Give us a brief update on that, if you don't mind, Mr. Roy, on what happened this last week at Dean Baldwin, the place we all visited, the large hangars and possibilities for future expansion. But what did they do this week?
Certainly, yeah, they accepted their first aircraft. Last week is a 767, so it's the first 767 we've had back at Middle Georgia Regional Airport in about 5 years. So we're glad to have those guys. It's currently being painted, and we hope to see a brand new aircraft roll out of that hangar in the next 15 or so days. So they're also expecting their next aircraft to arrive for the second hangar. They opened 2 hangars, 2 of them are still under construction, but 2 of the 4 are operational, and they accept their second aircraft, I think, next week, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, they are fully operational at this time.
We appreciate that, and I know they're looking forward to this extension getting done as we are as well. So
Yes,
we do have a motion and second, and I hear no other questions. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and be sent to consent agenda. We'll move on to contracts and implementation of renewal. The first item is 5A. 5A is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Intercontinental Commercial Services in the amount of $145,900 for the exterior painting of Macon City Hall. Notate that for the record, Macon City Hall. EMA and EOC facilities with funds to be paid from the Capital Improvement Fund, Facilities Management, Building and Building Improvements line item. As you recall, earlier this year, this commission approved the funds for that in our capital improvements projects, and this is one of those items that we included. This is now the time to appropriate the money and select a company. So that's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Wynn. Any discussion in this regards?
Only one person responded for painting? Is it like special painting? No local?
Good morning, Commissioners. No, it is not. Went through the normal procurement process, sent it out through the normal process on the state website, our website, and the information in the package is what procurement provided on the responses.
And ICS is at minimum from Macon though, right?
I'm sorry, so what?
ICS, the winning Intercontinental Commercial Services, at minimum, that's a Macon company.
I don't know, but I'll find out.
Any other questions?
Well, yeah, I mean, cause it's painting, so like that's the, I really want us to get better at. I know we got, the Small Business Affairs Office is still activating, but how do we do this a little better? One responded, I'm almost certain Intercontinental is not a Maconite, and it's painting of City Hall, right? But
I think this was put out before, and they got some prices before, and they had the same problem then because of the structure itself, how large the columns are, the building are. It's not normal process for a small company in particular to be able to get in those great heights with all the scaffolding necessary. I asked before to get an estimate when we actually put together the capital improvement projects for you, and they only had one before that was interested in doing it, and this had been a couple of years ago. So certainly want to get better. We never want to have just one, but this is put out there for everyone. Everyone's had an opportunity to review that, and this is the bid that we got. So
Correct.
in a rush to paint the building? Can we try again, take it back out to market, and in that?
we'll ask Attorney McNeil, he step up to address that issue.
So whenever we do a competitive solicitation for procurement purposes, the county always has the right to reject all bids and start over. That's, it would add some time to the process, but that's certainly your right.
The argument to be made that one bid isn't competitive. We can do it. I don't know what the will of the rest of the body is, but
Well, we can hear from other commissioners. I believe that people have had the opportunity to do this. I think this is something a little bit more specific that you're not going to get small companies to do so, and they don't feel like they can do it at a price to make money, especially in this environment. This company says they can do it now. I don't want to just keep kicking the can down the road because nobody applies to, for the position. Plus, we don't want to get in the habit of withdrawing bids every time that we get one that we have out there for somebody to put the time and effort to go through the paperwork, to just simply withdraw the bid because we're not happy with the competitiveness of the process. I think I'd be real careful with that myself. I certainly know it needs it. It's been needing a while out there, and it's been put off too long. And I think we need to go ahead and resolve it with the bid that we have. But I'm up to do whatever the commission wants to do. Commissioner Watkins?
I yield to it if anybody else wants to speak, but I guess as another point, I honestly, I know you said we put it out there, but I had no clue that we were in the process of looking for somebody for a roof. And maybe other people did, but I have seen no marketing on that issue for a local I'm sure everyone got an email or whatever our minimum standard is, but I just think it's painting of City Hall. Like, I know you say small companies, but we do have large construction people here who would be honored to paint our City Hall if they knew it was available, in my opinion. Or if not, we can at least try to split it up in a way, spend some time and split it up in a way where, again, I don't know, somebody paints the left, somebody paints the right, if that's possible, because I don't know, right now I don't know wherever we're sending this money to. But I yield.
Thank you. Commissioner Wynn?
Yes, sir. I'm kind of in the same thought that you are about if we start pulling out of these contracts once we agree to use somebody, it's going to give us a bad name. And I'm sure you're putting it out the same way you always have, Michael, right? With bid process, or Keith, with bid process. And I think contractors that do painting, construction, whatever kind of work they do are going to look for these opportunities to bid on. So I don't know what else we can do. I think that we should go ahead and do this.
Commissioner Wilder?
I don't see the point if we've already went at it twice, going at it again. We don't want anybody coming in here that's not adequate to do the job.
Yeah.
I don't really see the point in putting it out there a third time.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yeah, the thing is, we don't know about the adequacy of this particular one. We just know that it was all that was left standing, Is this a local? Where's this company located?
I've been told they're located out of Lawrenceville.
Where?
Lawrenceville.
Okay. Was there background information in our?
These are good questions.
Yes.
Yeah, you got the entire packet in your materials.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's all.
I didn't check that.
Yeah, that's why I was pulling the package up that you have in front of you. I just have the simple agenda in front of me. But again, we go through the whole procurement process. The department puts it on our website. They put it on the state registry. I'm looking in the package to see if he listed where it was posted and how many the respondents and things of that nature. But again, this is part of our process.
Okay, I just wanted to agree with Commissioner Watkins that, you'd like to see local folks, and I know there's somebody in Macon with all the painting contractors that are in this area. I just think that maybe they just didn't get the word, but if the process was carried out to solicit bids and all of that, and it was done twice, then it looks like you've done, as much as you could do, other than to make sure that our Small Business Affairs Office takes note of the concern that's being expressed, and and looks at it to see if there's something that can be enhanced in the process. Because I certainly would like to have seen, somebody local do paint City Hall and EMA.
Correct. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. I will re-emphasize that to the staff as they work together.
If Commissioner Watkins is going to move to table, I would vote for tabling if he wants to do that. I don't know how many others agree with that, but at this point, I just don't see where we go from there if we didn't get anybody else to bid on it. But I'm like him. I was not aware that we were getting bids to paint City Hall.
Yeah, I understand. I think most of the commissioners probably don't hang around our site and look what we post on there all the time. And
You're
certainly-
right about that.
Certainly, I can tell you that on numerous occasions, I've been coordinating with Ms. Reese Stevens on making sure that we have small and minority businesses are applying for these. In this economic environment right now, with the inability to attract labor for some of these businesses,
Just an additional
it's been a
piece of
challenge.
information, it is a minority-owned business, Korean-owned business.
Right.
And in the information, it was received by 329 African American, 14 Asian, 16 Native American, 47 Hispanic, and 1 Pacific Islander. So there was a strong effort to through our department to put it out there to a diversity of contractors.
Well, maybe City Hall is unique, and, folks saw that there was a problem with, the actual way of painting and scaffolding and all of that stuff. So that's unusual, though, that you only get one person responding.
I think it's definitely the environment that we're in right now, and I do think there proposes some challenges for small business, especially locally right now. So we're certainly all going to be mindful of that, to make sure that we work with procurement for the best processes to put things in place like rubrics that may help our local businesses that we already have. So we're going to continue to do that. So if there's no other questions in regard to this item, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries, will be sent to consent agenda. We're going to move on to a resolution authorizing executing an agreement with Harmon Solutions, LLC, in the amount of $83,871.55 for the renovation of the administrative area of the interior of the first floor City Hall, with funds to be paid from capital improvements plan, building and building improvements line item. As my motion, can I get a second? Got a second by Commissioner Wynn. Likewise, this is part of the capital improvement plans we brought before you probably back in February. This is the old municipal court area downstairs where the glass windows are. It was our intention to move code enforcement to this building, which is directly below where we're at now. And we needed to do some renovations, particularly in the side where you have some extensive damage there from some water and other things that Judge Faulkner's office used to be at on that side. This is something we could not do in-house. We've done the other side mostly in-house, but we had to put this out for bid, and that's what this is for, to try to continue to be more efficient and save money by moving some of our departments where we're paying rent at to a place that we have for free. So this is our attempt to do that. Commissioner Wynn?
Yes, sir. And again, I'm in favor of this. It's kind of dungeony down there on the first floor, so I think it's time to do something with it. I think it's time to spruce it up and make it brighter down there.
Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. Any other questions? No other questions? Commissioner Watkins?
And just as a point of note, this one also had 1 respondent. Minority-owned company from Atlanta, which is decent, but again, somehow we keep just pulling 1 respondent.
I agree. I wish we had more. Sometimes we get a better price when there's more, but I continue to think in this environment here, not everybody's capable of doing the work or having the manpower, and we can't stand in place when we need things done just to wait people get caught up for work. I hope that'll change in the near future, but we're paying $100-something thousand to house our department somewhere else when we got a place for free downstairs. And I think we have to be mindful of the budget that we had to work with. So certainly duly noted again, Commissioner Watkins, and thank you for that comment. We're going to go ahead. We got a motion and a second on this. Any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item C is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase and sale agreement with Fisher Scientific Company, LLC, in amount of $129,472.69 for the purchase of 127 cot 45-minute CBA cylinders to be paid from the Capital Improvement Fund, Fire Department, Machinery and Equipment line item. I distinctly remember a couple of months ago that Commissioner Lucas said every time something from the fire comes up, she's going to be in supportive. So I assume that she would like to make that motion. And Commissioner Bronson would like to make that second. Okay. We'll go ahead and notate that. We do have our interim chief, Shane Edwards, here today if there's any question in this regard. So if there are any questions at this time, I go ahead and entertain those. No questions? Sure. Shane, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. The cylinders that you see, self-contained breathing apparatus cylinders, that is what we wear when we go in structure fires or hazardous condition, atmospheric conditions. Those cylinders are mandated to be changed out every 15 years. That's the maximum lifespan that we're able to get out of a cylinder. There's about 300 of them on the department. What we do is we annually swap those out so that we don't have 1 year where we have to purchase the whole. Those cylinders are also hydrostat tested every 5 years to keep them in compliance with NFPA guidelines. So at this time, we're in the process of trying to purchase about 127 of them to get our line back up to where they need to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Wynn?
So is that that's part of what you need? You do a half of them every few years or something like that?
We do a
Shane?
percentage every year so that we
Okay.
don't have to make a bulk over one purchase in, say, 15 years. We would have to change out every cylinder throughout the whole department. So we do it over a strategic,
So the
plan
next
over
few
years.
years, you'll be getting more, changing out more and more.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
There are two reasons why I support the fire department and what they ask for. First of all, they've always been straight up with us, and they've always justified what they needed. They could always show us a use for it, and they waited until they couldn't wait any longer on it. The other thing is that I am eternally grateful because some years ago they broke into our burning house downstairs and rescued two of my grandchildren who were then 9 and 7 and who are 21 and 17 now. And I'm eternally grateful, and I always take every opportunity to express my gratitude to them, and they always justify what they want. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. We do have a motion and second here, no other discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Those motions carried. We'll add those. Anybody else want to be a sponsor on that? Commissioner Bronson, Commissioner Wynn, Wilder. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is somewhat similar. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase and sale agreement with Williams Communications in an amount of $178,519 for the purchase and installation of a microwave network update using Aviat equipment, with funds to be paid from 2018 SPLOST funds for public safety towers. Property line item. That is my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Bronson. Any question in that regard? Got Commissioner. Chief, you want to tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yes, sir. These are the tower sites. Of course, we've heard about them over the years. The Allied site, the Knight Road site are not communicating as they should with microwave signals. This company that put this site in years ago is no longer in business. Therefore, from what I understand, we're unable to purchase the parts needed to repair and replace. So at this time, it went out for bid, and a company came in that is able to provide the service for the microwave signals to get those towers back together, communicating properly. When the tower does go down, we do have to rely on the SMAR, Monroe County system and SMAR, to offset that coverage for us, which does cause radio communications throughout Bibb County. So this is one of those needs that we've been needing to get this repaired and replaced.
Thank you for the explanation. Commissioner Watkins?
What provider does this type of thing? Seems sounding kind of complex.
Sorry.
What type of provider provides this service? Like what?
Communication is the company that kind of oversees and repairs the systems that we currently have right now. The system that was in there was Alcatel/Lucent Technologies that no longer supports that anymore. So when it went out for bid, I believe that Williams had to find out a distributor that was able to provide those items for the towers to be able to communicate. And that's where it came back with this company that is AVL equipment, which is the equipment we'll use, but it will be installed, from what I understand, by Williams Communication.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Watkins. Any other questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. I do know that the RFP on the new training center is very close to completion. We're getting some good responses on those, and we look forward probably sometime in July for having an update on the fire training center from our chief as well as our procurement department on where we're at and the attorneys on that. So I'm looking forward to getting something in on that and moving forward, as I know all the commissioners are. So that completes our items I think that you're involved with today. So Chief, appreciate you being here.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
The item E is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an independent contractor agreement with All South Roofing Solutions to replace the roof on the Macon-Bibb County Facilities Management Building in the amount of $118,000 to be paid for by the capital improvement funds, Facilities Management Building and Building Improvements line item. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. Any questions in regards to the roof replacement at the facilities building? Commissioner Jones.
The sponsor, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Watkins?
In that this one managed to have 5 respondents, which is that's good.
Yes, sir.
And it's all, I believe All South is local, maybe. I've heard of them before. No, like Monticello, Georgia. Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you for that observation. We have better job on the roofing here locally, and I think we do have a lot of roofers, and there's nothing unique about this particular roof here, so I'm glad that we got some good response. So we do have a motion and a second. If there are no further questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. The next item is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with Southern Majority LLC, Administrative Planning and Design Services, to support the Macon Violence Prevention MVP program in an amount of $23,211 payable from the mayor's office budget contingency line item. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Got a second by Commissioner Jones. These items, just for your purposes, this company was retained by myself, or selected by myself as a professional services to begin the process for the MVP, the Macon Violence Prevention. As you know, we had the large turnout across the street in Rosa Parks for our initial kickoff on this. We've had a good promotion. We have an event tonight for the victims of violent crime that will be attending. The purpose is to get the word out. We have digital set up, website, social media, and we've had a lot of promotion and gathering of these forums and setting these up. And we had some expenses. The mayor has this in a contingency fee, but because it is a professional services, although it comes out of my budget, it must come before this commission. So I'm certainly asking for your support. Appreciate everybody that was in town that could come to that event last week, and I'm looking forward to working with each of you over the next 90 days as we develop the strategic plan. So we do have a motion and second on this. Any other questions? Commissioner Watkins.
I guess I'm excited that we're getting started in the MVP. What is the actual outcome of what are they doing? And I heard you, but at the same time, when you say administrative plan and design, are they actually creating the strategic plan, or what is their outcome?
They have created the website, MaconViolencePrevention.org, secured the URL on that. They're managing the website, the social media right now, creating the content for that. They designed the banner, purchased the banner. That's all in this charge here for the MVP. They're hosting the event tonight that we have at Stewart Chapel Church tonight, and they're going to be putting together the forums and help facilitating over the next couple months during our strategic plan for their services.
Deeply engaged already. Like based on that,
Just
we
the
already
first-
owe them money. This ain't what they are going to do. This is what they're already done in some cases.
They began the process for that one event that we had to kick off, yes, sir, for a smaller amount. And the rest of this is happening over the next 60 days as we put forward the strategic plan, until such time that we can bring the entire plan to the commission for funding, either we're in-house or out-house.
Around on Southern Majority, or I've read a lot in the criminal justice field. I am not familiar with the organization. We met yesterday for an hour or so. This Southern, what's their background?
Southern Majority is a local business that has a vendor contract with Macon-Bibb County. They do promotions, they do polling, do some political, they do business promotion. They work with our Chamber of Commerce, they work with our Visit Macon to do their marketing. and promotions, and they work with several of our quasi-authorities here in Macon-Bibb County. Okay? Any other questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Where are we at? Moving on to item G. Item G, I believe Ms. Wynn would like to be a sponsor of that as well. It's a resolution approving and authorizing the mayor as well as the pension trustee board for Macon-Bibb County Pension Plan, Retirement Committee for the Macon-Bibb County Pensions and Retirement System, Division A, and the Retirement Board of Trustees for Macon Fire and Police Employees Retirement System to execute an agreement with the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia, ACCG, for the purpose of providing pension administration, payroll, and actuarial services for 3 aforementioned pension plans in the initial amount of $115,000 with ongoing annual costs in the amount of approximately $423,550 to be divided amongst the 3 pension plans and be paid from the trust corpuses thereon in prorated basis for plan membership. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioners, I'm sorry, we'll let Commissioner Wynn make that motion, and a second by Commissioner Wilder. Dr. Moffitt?
Yes, sir. This has already been approved by each of the pension plans. The 30-second simple version is that I want to bring us up to date on how we administer just the administration services of the pension plans. That is the retirement calculations, the educational services, and the actual payroll of the plans. We currently do those in-house. We currently do not charge the plans what we should be charging them. So when I presented it to the boards, I did present the comparisons of what it would take to do this in-house, and I do not recommend doing it in-house because we would have to bring on some additional staff that are experts in retirement for the service that we're providing to our potential retirees. To give you an example, if somebody came in today and said, hey, I'm thinking about retiring, that's a complicated process because we have 3 different plans. We have numerous options in each plan. And so it takes a staff person 2 hours to a day to just run these simple calculations and then bring the person in and talk to them. And again, this is just somebody that's thinking about retirement, let alone the people that are actually going to retire and getting those calculations and everything to the board. So ACCG, we did this process. We had ACCG, GMA, and Bulk come in because this is what they do, and they present it to the boards. ACCG has a very nice program that every employee will have access where they can log in at any time and do what-if scenarios with their numbers and see what their pension calculations would be. They can put in what the different options are, if they want to do the spousal support, if they want to just do 100% directly, and it'll give them real-time information on that. So again, this is something that we kind of do in-house. I think that we do not do it at a level that we should be doing it at, and it was my recommendation to the boards, and the board members agreed. You have several board members that are on the commission now that can tell you more of the information that was presented to them, and this is how we'd like to move forward.
We discussed I was on 2 of the boards. What was the final determination about the percentages? Was it going to be a third, or were it going to be percentages?
No, it'd be prorated by the number of members in each plan.
No, that's what I thought.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Commissioner Wynn?
I'm also serving on 2 pension boards and saw the presentation. ACCG is a fantastic system, as you said, Dr. Moffitt, and that enables the employees to go in and do their own checking on what they want to do and when they want to retire and how much they're going to make. They can do it at midnight if they want to. They just go online and do it. The presentation ACCG gave us was excellent, and they're also doing this for 120 counties out of the 159 in our state already. So they are experts in this. They have great expertise, and the program is wonderful from what I've seen. And I've been with other companies where they had such programs, and this is going to be good for the employees once they're trained, so they won't have to go to HR.
Correct. So and I want to stress, this is not going to affect anybody's retirement payments or anything of that nature. This is just the administrative services that we provide to the employees, which is sending out the checks, which is doing the calculations, and if they have questions, they can call the customer service number and get those educational questions answered. So I want to assure every retiree out there, this is not going to change any of the benefits. It's not going to change. This is not dealing with the investments or anything of that nature.
It's an excellent service to assist our employees is basically
Correct.
what it is, to make it easier for them to see what they want to plan for the future. If they got mad at work today and want to retire, they can start looking into how they can do that on their own.
Correct.
You know, I think it's a great system.
Commissioner Watkins?
Just curious, like the current, currently we provide the service to the employee, like you say, in-house. I was curious, like, do we have a division or a person whose full-time dedication is this?
No, sir.
or-
It's currently divided amongst 4 departments. We have the clerk that takes the minutes and all the administrative parts for the board, which the clerk will continue to do that, but that information will be transferred to ACCG for the work that they would be doing. We have our legal team that does work also representing the board, and that information to be transferred. The bulk of the work is done in payroll services, where you have the 3 plans where they administer the check on a monthly basis. My understanding is that prior to consolidation, we did outsource this with, I believe, State Bank, and then consolidation happened. We brought it in-house. We only charge $500 a month for all 3, where each one of the entities that came in and said at a minimum, we probably should be charging about $40,000 a year to be doing this service. Again, because it is a significant amount of checks that we run through our payroll process. The other part is at the time it takes HR when someone comes in to go through that consulting piece where they make their selection. We do the calculations, and again, you have 3 different plans depending on when the employee was hired and who they worked for, especially prior to consolidation. And within each plan, you have very different options.
All right, so the magic happens in HR, I assume.
Yes.
And like right now, I assume there's a small division in HR who deals with this.
No, it's really 2 employees, and they have the historical knowledge of that. And that's one of the concerns that I have is that the devil's in the details. We had 3 employees that really did this, and we lost 2 of them. One went somewhere else, one retired, and one passed. And there was a lot of historical knowledge there. So we've had 2 employees that have learned the process, but if I lose those 2 employees, it's going to take time to train 2 more to learn all the different plans. And this will be something ongoing with ACCG. They are a corporation that does this. They have a division dedicated just to retirement services.
Was the retirement services. The 2 folks now, they'll be reorganized to do something else, or retirement services is just part of their service provision.
They will be doing something else, so they'll be the primary liaison with ACCG.
Okay, so they'll continue to kind of oversee it from our perspective. But
Right.
this will provide them with a lot of. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. We do have a motion and second. No further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Going to move on to community involvement, items 6A, B, C. 6A is a resolution to authorize the mayor to reactivate the Macon-Bibb County, Georgia Civic Awareness Program for Studies we call GCAPS, created by the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia Civic Affairs Foundation to address a need for civic involvement and awareness amongst Georgia's youth, Macon-Bibb County. That is sponsored by myself and Commissioner Bronson. Commissioner Bronson, would you like to make that motion? Got a motion by Commissioner Bronson. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Lucas. Okay. I see Dr. Moffitt's here, as well as I know Dr. Ficklin's going to be heading that up as well.
Correct. I would just like to say that this is not a new program for us. We've had a GCAP program in the past. Last year, we suspended it due to COVID, and I want to thank the clerk who oversaw the last program that we had. Prior to that, Mr. Coney had this program, and it was a larger program than what the GCAPS fundamentally is. So what the mayor has asked for Dr. Fickling to kind of reinvent what we will be doing, and I will, if he wants to come up and give a summation of his thoughts so far on where we're going to go with it. But again, this is youth involvement in helping them learn about local government. So this will be heavily focused on local government, which is the primary objectives of the GCAPS program. And the money is already approved in the budget for him to do the activities with the students as far as recruitment and their monthly activities.
Commissioner Wynn?
No, this is not new to us, but did we drop it for a year or something?
We did because of COVID last year.
Okay, well, that was the only reason, right?
Correct.
Because I think the community that's watching
Correct.
this
Right, that was the only reason we
televising
dropped
of
it
this
last
needs
year.
to know that we've had this program before.
Correct.
And more
And
about it from maybe Dr. Fickling can give us some more about what would they want to do this year.
And if I remember prior to, we had 30 students last year, year before last, we ended the year with 30 students.
Good.
Yeah, we're simply just reactivating it, so, thank you. We do have a motion and second, no further discussion. All those in favor of supporting this item, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries, will be sent to consent agenda. The next item is a resolution to authorize the mayor to submit an application to rejoin the Sister Cities International at the community population level of 100,000 to 300,000 at the cost of $1,030 for the annual membership dues to be paid for from the general fund. That is a motion sponsored by myself and Commissioner Bronson. Commissioner Bronson, would you like to make that motion? Got a motion by Commissioner Bronson. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Lucas. Same thing here, is we're just reactivating this sister city relationship. Dr. Ficklen will be handling that. I know he's communicated with several of you in that regards. Is there any particular questions about that program or anything you need to know from Dr. Ficklen? Commissioner Wynn.
I know it's a small amount of money to be rejoining this, but exactly what do we do in the Sister City program? I mean, I've been to one of our sister cities and met some government officials there, but what is it we do with all these sister cities that we have right now?
Sister City International is again, a national program that promotes the unity between cities in different nations under the objective of education, economic development, and I believe community involvement. I think it's 3 E's, economic, education, but I'm not familiar with the third. I can't remember the third one. But again, part of this is to bring the two cultures together, to share that knowledge. In the past, we primarily focused around the Cherry Blossom Festival, because that was a time to really bring the different communities in and showcase our community with a lot of different activities going around. We also had a component where we did student exchanges, sponsored heavily with YKK and the Karobe Connection, where students from Karobe would come here and stay in the homes of students. I believe we've done Central, Mount DeSales, Rutland students. And then we would do that every other year. Students would come here 1 year, and then the next year we would send them there. The Macon France connection was they do a college every summer. I believe a couple of commissioners, city council people in the past actually attended that university, where you would go to Macon France for 2 weeks, I believe it is, and do the culture exchange there. Again, the money in the program is because part of the unofficial agreement is that as long as the person can furnish their way here, we pay for all in-country expenses. And that's worked out very well, and that's the exchange. So if we were to send someone to their country, they cover all expenses in country there also. So it's a great program. I'm glad that we've taken the opportunity to try to join it and go, but there's a due structure, and there are some specific objectives that we're going to put into the program and work on accomplishing.
Ask about the economic information that we get from these sister city relationships.
Well, part of it is to really try to encourage international business to locate here. I do know that the chamber in the past, with Kumo Tires, we used the Sister City connection there to try to bridge, foster those relationships there to ensure that some of their suppliers would locate here. So again, part of that recruitment effort included the Sister City connections.
Thank you, Dr. Moffitt.
Thank you, Mr. Wynn. We do have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries, will be sent to consent agenda. I would ask Dr. Ficklen if you don't mind stepping up to the mic real quick. These last 2 items he's worked extremely hard on. I know he's passionate about both of those, and I look forward to him continuing his relationship on these issues. They all affect economic development. Believe it or not, it affects our MVP program, Macon Violence Prevention, because the more we give opportunities for kids to get involved, like these young people here today, the better off we're going to be as a community. And one thing that he has been working on for me is the mayor's youth registry, and I want him to tell you a little bit about that, because you may have seen it on our website. If not, you'll be seeing more about it and we welcome any input after you have a chance to look at it on how we can make this better. So, Dr. Ficklin, if you just tell me a little bit about that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just, can I add an addendum to what County Administrator Keith Moffitt said about the Sister Cities program? Currently, we are in negotiation with the Muskogee Creek Nation tribe of becoming one of our sister cities. And in addition to that, next year in Elmina, Ghana, we have our 20th year anniversary for being a sister city with them. They're going to have a celebration over in Elmina, Ghana. So that may be something that we may discuss later on. I know that Commissioner Tillman has asked about our sister city relationship with Elmina, Ghana. So those are things that are in play now. And in addition to that, we have some other sister city relationships that we're going to be looking at as time goes by. Under the youth registry, we are attempting to get a registry which is not in existence now. We don't know what our young people are doing. We only hear about gangs and what gangs are doing. This will be a registry that would have listed all of the activities that young people are doing, and it'll be a volunteer registry. Church groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, basketball teams, softball, soccer, all kinds of things that young people are doing, so that we will have a resource that we need to get some information out to them, especially for preventing crime. This registry would be really a great resource for us, and as we input into our community things that we want our young people to do that are wholesome, it would be beneficial to us. And it's going to be developing as we go along. And if there are some ideas that any of you all have that would help to formulate what the registry is to do and what it is to be about, then certainly we welcome that. But right now, we want young people to know that the city is concerned, the county is concerned about them. We want their parents to know that we are concerned about their behavior and their activities. And if we could find out what wholesome activities they are involved in, we believe that is going to go to help us fight crime in Macon-Bibb County.
Thank you, Dr. Ficklin. Appreciate that brief intermission. Commissioner Watkins, you have a question?
I like the youth registry concept. How does one register? Like, if you are a nonprofit or a church, how do you send your information with them?
There's a form on our web page. I think that it has been temporarily suspended till we put some more information in it. But all they have to do is go and pull it up, and they will register on there. It asks for just simple information: the name of the organization, who's the general sponsor of it, and then it asks for an address. If they have a web page, that's optional, but we do want an email address and the basic mission of that particular youth group, what they are doing. And of course, once we collect that kind of information, we know that our youth are involved in some wholesome activity. And I stress again that I don't know that there is any other place that we can go and get information about what kinds of things are going on. When someone comes into our community, we can point them to these are organizations that your young people can be involved in that are wholesome activities. And of course, I think that once it is known that there are wholesome things that people can get involved in, especially our children, that kind of takes away the desire for young people to associate themselves with things that are not so wholesome, like gang activity.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes, sir. I just want to thank Dr. Fickling. That's excellent work. I appreciate what you've done, and I want to commend the mayor and this administration for the MVP program. All we got to do is look around at cities all over America, and they're defunding police and doing all this garbage, and we're targeting with specific plans that I think will work and improve this community. So I commend you for your work. Thank you,
So
sir.
much.
All right, we're going to move on to a couple other items. We have item C. This is a resolution to designate the area described herein as MLK Small and Minority Owned Business District to be known as Macon's Black Wall Street as a project and focus area for economic growth and development in Macon-Bibb County. That motion is sponsored by Commissioner Paul Bronson. Mr. Bronson, would you like to make that motion?
So move.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bronson. Can I get a second? Second by Mayor Pro Tem Clark. We'll say that we do have another item on the agenda in just a short while where there is a community foundation grant specifically related to this item that we'll be discussing as well. But at this time, Commissioner Lucas, go ahead.
Yeah, I told Commissioner, complimented Commissioner Bronson on pulling this together. We, in the past, we looked at Cotton Avenue, this area, Cotton Avenue, which was, I don't know whether it could be considered Black Wall Street in Macon for a period of time, but at one point there was a black-owned hotel, there was a pharmacy, there was a there was an insurance company, all kinds of things. And in the past, we focused on that and wanted to make sure that that history was remembered by putting in suitable plaques or something along the way. It's being developed now. And after the development takes place, that whole area up there by H&H is going to be called Billingsley Commons or something like that in honor of the late Albert Billingsley, who was a self-made businessman and was a member of the county commission previously before his death. And so is there a way that we can incorporate the Greenwood Bottom, that, and then look at Cotton Avenue as well? Because I think there would be some disagreement as to which one, some discussion as to which one. And the historians, Dr. Ficklin and some others know a whole lot. They've done a lot of research on it, but I would not want to designate one and then we have all of that was in place in this corridor. There was a dentist, physicians. So it just looks to me like there may be a way of merging that and paying tribute to that area as Black Wall Street, but also this area in that same vein as the historic. Can we work on getting that done? Maybe table this and then work on incorporating all of that so that we don't approve something and then there's discussion later on about, no, that wasn't Black Wall Street, this was Black Wall Street.
Yeah, let me, just a couple of things. Number one, this is separate from the Community Foundation, so we definitely need to move on in a moment to accept the funding for the Community Foundation. That provides a consultant to really get to the heart of this. I understand this is separate here now, so if it's something you want to do about table, let me just read one part of this, because I want people at home definitely to know this. But this is a part of the resolution that says Macon-Bibb County Commission will develop incentives and programs that will allow this district, in particular that identified by Commissioner Bronson in the Green Bottom area, to develop into a center for the incubation and success of small and minority-owned businesses, provided that nothing in this resolution shall be construed or immediately creating any benefits, rights, or programs other than designating and establishing these boundaries of the district at this time. So I want to make sure that's important that we're talking about this particular area. It does relate to that community foundation, which is a separate ordinance than this right here. It sounds like there may need to have some more conversation so you're not designating one area and have a opposite or another competing interest on the cotton area. So it may be something that you want to address together. I know that Commissioner Bronson has been working on this a while. I would like to, even if you table this, I want to go ahead and accept that community foundation grant and the second one.
I can see now the separation, because the other Cotton Avenue, the focus would be preserving the memories of the historic elements in that area, maybe through plaques or whatever along that way. but this one has the focus of not only doing that, but also building businesses back. So that's, I think it probably needs to be separate. So I'll vote to approve this, especially since it's tied to that foundation grant.
Okay. We're going to let Commissioner Bronson explain that, and I've got a couple of questions. Commissioner Bronson, if you'll just give a brief explanation of this, we got a motion second. Yeah, a brief explanation on this proposal that you have, what it entails, and why you think it's beneficial for Macon-Bibb County as a whole.
So it's beneficial for two main reasons here. One, it's a bold step for us to move our community forward, right? It's identifying an area, especially with Greenwood Bottom and MLK. Over my times of traveling throughout the different cities and states and countries, no matter where I go, where there's an MLK Boulevard, it always looks trashy, right? So we have an opportunity here as a city to be the leading role, take the leading role in developing that area. Dr. King spoke highly of business development. He spoke highly of prosperity and unity and so forth. And this is a chance that we have to designate an area that can do that, right? Ironically enough, and as cool as it may seem, Greenwood Bottom falls in line with MLK Boulevard. In first phase of this, pretty much, it allows us now to start the development towards South Macon. So even with us creating this district, we can basically step it from there and go into Houston Avenue, which we developed the S-Pit there from that piece. So this is just the first step. Dr. King spoke highly in reference to, being faithful, right, having faith. And, it's taking that first step even though you don't see the whole staircase. So this is one motion that we as a body can do. The other piece of that too, outside of that, when it boils down to downtown area, a lot of the downtown residents and business owners that I've spoken to have one big issue that they have, and that's 18-wheelers driving up and down MLK Boulevard. It's not safe for pedestrians, it's not safe for business development. So if we were created a district that falls in line with that one piece, it gives us a fighting chance in the sense of talking with DOT and Norfolk Southern to reroute those 18-wheelers off of MLK back onto 7th Street, creating more jobs by doing a truck stop and so forth. So there's a lot of things that takes place outside of this one move we're making today. So I'm thankful for the support of the community. I'm thankful for the support of the commission and you as well, Mayor. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and also want to note that this particular ordinance that you're responsible is a beginning process, and there's still some work to do. There's no funding mechanism, so there's no obligation to appropriate any funds at this time on this particular ordinance. And the other resolution that we have will have I think it's $40,000, is that correct?
$30,000.
$30,000 funding for that from the Community Foundation on a grant that you are awarded.
1,000 more to that, sir, you can, by all means.
Okay. I want to know where you can get the $20 million to reroute all those trucks. So we'll talk later on that.
Yeah, we'll work
I think we had another question. Commissioner Wynn?
Yes, sir, thank you. Commissioner Bronson, I compliment you on your work on this. I have concerns about it. Some of those concerns just came out in discussion between Commissioner Lucas and yourself about the location or what you selected here to be called the Black Wall Street. I would think that some of the other areas of town would look at this and say, why not me? Why not Shirlington? Why not Pinona? Why not Houston Avenue? Why not Rocky Creek? Have a lot of black business owners there, but you're singling out this particular area downtown. I know you have your reasons, and you're probably about to say that to me when I finish because I see you looking at me. But I want to know why you picked that instead of some of these other areas that could use more help in developing their small business. And I also have a concern that this looks divisive. It divides up our community. We have a black Wall Street. We don't even have a white Wall Street or a Wall Street. We don't have any Wall Street for anybody that looks like me, being a female, or particularly a white female. We have no help that I know of that's being considered for those small business owners. I could look at Ingleside. And say, hey, there's a lot of white female business owners there. Why aren't we helping them with something? I don't know why you picked this area. You have your reasons. That's fine. But I think you're going to have some people that have their feelings hurt. It concerns me, the language in the resolution somewhat concerns me, the whole language in the resolution referring back to Tulsa. We know what happened in Tulsa. It should not ever happen again. We need to remember history so we won't repeat those things. But that concerns me that that's in here. It just makes it look divisive to me, makes it feel divisive to me. I want to feel, we've been working together as a commission quite well and agreeing on things. I think this shows a little divisiveness from me, okay? Just from me, if I can say that. But I want to know why you picked that area and how you're going to respond to these other areas like Rocky Creek, like Pine Knoll, like Houston Avenue, like Shirlington, that want some help, want some recognition, want to be called Black Wall Street. I don't think we're ready to be doing this yet. That's just my opinion, because we're overlooking a lot of other minority groups. Do we have a Chinatown in Macon? Do we have a Chinatown in Macon? No. Have a little Cuba in Macon? No, for the Hispanic.
But see,
I'm saying, you see what you're saying. You're singling out one particular area of town that you want to have for the black community, but you're not looking at the rest of these minorities too in this proposal. I wish we could just table this and talk about it. It's not a bad idea. It's a lot of work. You put a lot of work into it. But I wish it could be changed some language in it, and let's look at where we really want to go with this in the future.
Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. We're going to move on to Commissioner Tillman, and I'll let Commissioner Bronson speak, and Commissioner Watkins as well.
I'm gonna let the sponsor speak.
I yield to you, sir.
Nah, you can't yield to me. It's your bill.
Commissioner Bronson, you want to respond? If you want to respond, that's fine. If you don't, we'll move on.
And I get it, right? I get it. So to answer your question, you asked why do we choose this area? In the resolution, right, it basically gives a outline of that, right? Why we chose Greenwood Bottom, because it's Greenwood Bottom. It's known. It's named after Tulsa, right? So after the massacre. So as stated before, this is an area that we can actually develop. This is not just a thing for, just blacks, right? I think you're getting the name mixed up. If you look at the resolution blatantly says the MLK Small Minority Business District. It's going to end up being referred to as Macon's Black Wall Street, because it falls within lines of Greenwood Bottom. So I'm not saying that you as a white woman cannot come. I welcome you to come and start business there. You're a minority in this community, right?
Hey, let's talk one at a time, okay? Commissioner Bronson, you got the floor.
Ensure that we are developing that, and then from there we can branch out and do a Chinatown. I would love to see a Chinatown. I've been in DC plenty of times. They have a small Chinatown. It is amazing. It is a tourist attraction where people can come in, get authentic food and so forth, and enjoy themselves. This here is just one step. This is just one step to building that unity piece that we need in the city of Macon. We got to change the mindset and how we operate. And right now we're doing great, Mr. Mayor. We're doing great. But this, as I said before, is a step forward in the right direction. And I'll that's all I have on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. I'll move on to Commissioner Watkins. And
I applaud you, Commissioner Bronson. This is a good step for us. And two things I want to highlight. That I understand. I've always, I go back to the old Cotton Avenue Mafia. So Cotton Avenue's always been a love of mine. But I've always understood that the Greenwood section, we make up, of the city of Macon, almost 60+%. There are a lot of areas here with rich histories in the black community. Sadly, also that same area, and again, the reason why these special districts are necessary, the reason that government needs to be in a place where we're with intentionality representing blacks, particularly in this community, but also minority groups with special provisions, which is I appreciate that we're demarking a district because it is historic for us, but also the systemic nature of banking and redlining in this community is quite pronounced and historically noted. It is a matter of fact that an area like Greenwood Bottom, Houston Avenue, and several other areas that the commissioner mentioned have historically been denied bank loans to provide them any type of ability to truly develop the area. There have been several owners, but as a owner, and I own properties and still an area that's now called the Opportunity Zone. It is very hard to get a bank to give you money to do what you're supposed to do to develop your business. While downtown, and Newtown just recently started with intentionality providing loans to black businesses. And over the last 5 or 10 years, we've seen an influx of black-owned businesses in the downtown area because of that intentionality. But before then, there was downtown. Matter of fact, there was a point in history. That's why our alleys are so nice, because black people had no business on the main street of downtown, Ingleside, all of North Macon. You're able to, even me as a minority, if I want to open a business on Riverside selling coffee, I write up my pro forma, and it is much easier to convince a bank to do that than it is if I want to open up a coffee shop on Houston Avenue or Greenwood Bottom. It's almost impossible, because the barbershop right in Greenwood Bottom is trying, and the Roxy Theater right there, people are trying, and the only thing that they can get is grant money from like-minded institutions like governments and nonprofits. But to go to the bank in these areas, I go back even to the downtown central business district. When Newtown first started, it was because downtown Macon itself to developers was considered a high-risk area. They started providing second position loans to allow folks, because what they do is, so if you want to build a house or something, again, North Macon, bank will give you 80% loan to value, and it's possible that you can come out ahead, like through some creative financing. But again, the wrong area, you end up with a 50% loan to value and a bad appraisal. And Newtown, the Urban Development Authority has stepped in a lot of projects to make it something, and we do it too all the time. What we were just here with the Virgil Powers building, downtown Central Business District, Urban Development Authority, providing gap financing for $400,000 so somebody could build something in downtown Macon. And he told us himself he was putting less than $50,000 cash into a multi-million-dollar deal. Same thing with that hotel down there. $28 million of government-backed money. But again, when it comes to these areas that have always been marginalized and underscored, it becomes an issue. So I'll yield. But I thank you for the work, sir.
Commissioner Watkins. Commissioner Tillman? You say yield? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. I was hoping that the sponsor would give and share the history, since these young folks from Booker T are here, because folks don't even know what we're talking about. We're mentioning Tulsa, Black Wall Street, and all of this stuff. And so these young folks that are here need to understand that in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, African-American men and women were thriving in a community, and a young black male allegedly slipped and fell in an elevator, supposedly, and touched the white woman's breast. And white mob males was outraged and upset, and he was jailed, and they wanted to come and lynch him. And 75 African-American men showed up to try and help the sheriff and say, we'll help protect the jail. He told them he didn't need their help to get out of here. Those men and women eventually got upset and came and bombed and massacred over 30 plus hours an entire thriving black community in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921, destroying and killing over 800 African-American men and women, which an area was called in Black Wall Street, where they were thriving on their own. I don't like the negative tones of the Black Wall Street, because it reminds us of negativity in that light. That M.L. King Street, who stood for great things and positivity, I think the name could be updated and changed to something, but you always try to remember your history. So I think you're always going to have an issue, and folks we find ourselves in a long discussion when we're talking about anything, sometimes of black and African Americans and whatever, when we're trying to bring awareness to it and more feasibility, money, monetary things of that nature. What white folks sometimes have to understand, especially white women, is that the NAACP, who inception came in 1909, did more for black people and white women, because white women themselves could not even vote like African Americans until 60, 70, 75 years ago. African Americans had the privilege to vote a little bit over 50 years ago. White women had the privilege to vote a little bit, probably over 70 years. So we all, both races have been, minorities or genders have been discriminated against. We do not recreate the Holocaust areas. We do not recreate the school shooting areas. And so why do we want to recreate the notation of Black Wall Street and all the negative things come with it? There's so much positive on ML King and what ML King stood for that I think the name could be updated. And I think that's what folks may have an issue with. They're always going to have an issue with that. I'm still waiting, and we need to be advocating for President. Everybody was praising President Biden, who I never praised for signing the Asian hate bill. African Americans have been hated on for all of our lives. We've been enslaved and all this stuff. And so we're praising him for a hate bill for Asians. Where's the African American hate bill that he hadn't signed? And we're waiting for him to sign that. I will address Dr. Ficklin and the MVP hopefully in a point of personal privilege. I yield. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. We're going to have one more question, one more comment, hopefully productive, Commissioner Wynn, and then I'm going to call the question.
I was hoping you'd still let me say something, have a
got you.
last word here. Wow, Commissioner Tillman and I actually agree on some things once in a while.
Okay, that's
Put
enough.
that on your record, okay? That's not all I wanted to say. But yes, white women have been discriminated against and still have difficulty. If I were single, I would have difficulty opening a business because I wouldn't have the backing of perhaps my husband's money. He'll hear that and say, what money? But anyway, I just think that we need to I like the idea of rethinking the name. I think the name is what does bother me. I think the issue with Tulsa, and these kids need to go, you need to study and see what that is more so than what you heard here today. The assassination of MLK. This is in your resolution. I don't think I think those words are divisive words for me. They're history words, and they're history that we do not need to repeat. We need to know about it, but we don't need to repeat it. I think that if the community, that area that you're wanting to call Black Wall Street, don't you push your button. Okay, if they want to do this, let's get them to do this on their own. Let's get them to do this from within. And why can't you have a bid, like an Eisenhower bid, to have some funding over there to get them to work together? Hang on, Commissioner Bronson. I know you're antsy to say something, but I think that we just need to rethink this, and I'd rather see this with another name on it. I'd like to table it.
Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. I have a motion to table. I don't know if anybody else is going to second that, but go right ahead.
It's my privilege to do that.
Well, I'd like to do a call question, but she's got a motion to table. Is there a second? There's no second to that. Got a second by Commissioner Jones. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion fails. Let's move on. I'd like them to call the question. Oh, sorry, you haven't spoken, Commissioner Jones. Go ahead.
I like the intent. I think the name is divisive. As my friend Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina says, I choose to look through the windshield instead of the rear view mirror.
Yeah.
So I don't like the name.
I don't either.
Identity politics continues to divide America. I think we have a much better situation in Macon, Georgia than most cities across America. So my only concern or reason for voting to table it was for further discussion. So I don't like the Black Wall Street name. That's my only concern. I like your intent, and I appreciate what you've done. I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. This time I'd like to call for the question. I get a second? Second by Pro Tem Clark. It's not a debatable motion. All those in favor of calling the question, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, no question called. So this time we're going to take a vote. We have a motion that's been properly motioned and second. All discussion has ended, so all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. I'm sorry. A roll call vote? Okay. We'll do a roll call vote. We're going to do it in reverse order, so we're going to start with Commissioner Tillman. Commissioner Tillman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins, how do you vote? Yes. Commissioner Howell, how do you vote? Yes. Commissioner Wilder, how do you vote? Yes. Pro Tem Clark, how do you vote? Yes. Commissioner Jones, how do you vote?
No, only because of the name.
Commissioner Lucas, how you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bronson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn, how you vote?
Oh, because of the name.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-2, will be sent to consent agenda for 1 o'clock. Thank you. Let's move on to item 7A. Am I right? There we go. A resolution to request Macon-Bibb County issue request for proposal. I'm sorry. We're going to pull this item, Commissioner. Okay.
You got me on this one.
Go ahead.
So, I know when we met yesterday, and like you say, you asked and I obliged because we still working through this process. But this is important work. You threw me off a little earlier with the Southern Majority line, cause we met for like 2 hours on gun violence, and you didn't make mention that you were adding that to the agenda, and we never updated, we never downloaded the actual proposed or document on this. But I'll yield till next week. While I have the floor, there are some young people here, and I don't think I'm the last thing on the agenda, but they have a presentation I think they wanted to make, so we could make some time for that within our agenda. But next week, begrudgingly.
Okay. I appreciate it, Commissioner Watkins. The motion is going to be pulled temporarily. We are working through hopefully another professional services contract or proposal for the commission that we incorporate this violence interruption workers. So I look forward to continue to work with Commissioner Watkins on that as part of our MVP program. We are going to move on to the item 8A. Item 8A, I want to ask Attorney McNeil to step forward, but this is a resolution to rename Mecca Drive as Shrine Park Drive, sponsored by Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Howell, would you like to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Howell. Can I get a second? Commissioner Wilder and Commissioner Tillman. Okay. Just want to let the board know, this is not just simply putting a sign up and saying we're going to be dedicating this. Is actually renaming the road. We have a process for that, and I want to make sure that Attorney McNeil lets you know about the process and how it fits in this particular case, so we know going forward. Attorney McNeil.
Yes, sir. So this is a legal change of the road name. It's currently called Mecca Drive. The proposal is to change the name to Shrine Park Drive. In this case, Mecca Drive is located just off of I-75 in South Macon. You may see the Shriner Temple off of the interstate as you're driving down into South Macon, and that road that it's on, that frontage road, is called Mecca Drive. We tried to do some research into the history of the name Mecca Drive and could not find in the clerk's records where it was actually named. But I did find a survey from 1992 where the road was just referred to as Frontage Road. So it appears that the name Mecca Drive came more recently than 1992 at least. There are 3 properties in Macon-Bibb that have an address that's located on Mecca Drive. 2 of them are owned by the Shriner Temple that is requesting this name change. The 3rd is owned by Macon-Bibb County. So there are no other neighbors that have an interest or are affected by this name change at all. In this case, so normally our policy that was adopted for the name change procedure would require a petition to go out signed by all the neighbors, and it would require a public hearing on the matter. Because of the unique circumstances, the only neighbor is us, other than the people that are requesting. Commissioner Howell has asked in his resolution to waive the public hearing requirement. And so the other thing that I wanted to mention is I had to do some research as far as how to update the legal maps, the official county maps, both internally within the county, also for purposes of the E911 room in case there's a fire or something and someone calls and says, we've got a fire on Shrine Park Drive. How do the fire trucks know to respond? And then also to update the U.S. Postal Service maps. So if someone sends a letter to the Shrine Park Drive, they know where to take it. And what I found through that process, and this is the first time I've done this process since I've been employed in the county attorney's office, is that our county engineer had somebody that was responsible for making those updates. She left in 2019, and so they're going to have to go back and figure out her processes and update the county maps officially. They're housed in the engineering department. Update those maps with E911, and she was also the one that informed the U.S. Postal Service when there was an update that needed to be made. And so all of that kind of originates in the county engineer's office, And so as a result of this, they'll have to take that step.
Thank you, Attorney McNeil. Commissioner Jones?
So, either to Commissioner Howell or you, Michael, is there one resident on the street? Is that what you're telling me?
There are no houses. It's the Shriner Temple, and then there's 2 lots that are owned by the Shriner Temple. There's
So
the
they
lot,
own all 3 parcels on that street,
we own one, and the Shriners own the other 2.
but there's not a resident on
Right.
that other. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Howell, you have anything to say?
Just to basically what he said, that there's only 3 lots there, and one of them is, the county owns, that's actually swampland, so there's no, we're never gonna develop it. As Attorney McNeil said, even the shrine, the temple has no idea where Mecca Drive came from either, and it has no relationship to it. Shrine Park Drive certainly fits the road a lot better, so, thank you.
Any further questions? Commissioner Lucas?
Far behind are we in the work? Because that bothers me a little bit. The fact that in the engineer's office, there are streets, and we've done, well, I don't think we've done a lot of street name changes. We've designated portions. Is that also accounted for in whatever documents or whatever is used to find locations? Like we designated in honor of somebody a way, W-A-Y.
Right.
So,
Commissioner, I don't believe that that's updated in any official maps. So for example, right in front of Atrium Hospital over here, there's a sign that says Jason Aldean Way. I don't think that changes the name of the street, and so the official maps don't need to be updated for that purpose.
okay. So are we way behind though? Are there a lot of streets that have?
I'm not aware of any legal road name changes that have been done
Okay.
in the last 4 years.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. Commissioner Williams?
Oh, just one small comment, because I had an email from somebody saying, why does the county commissioner want to waste their time and money on renaming streets? But you explained this. I want people that are watching this to know we're not wasting a lot of money to change a road sign. I know you did a lot of background work, and your time is important and expensive probably. But anyway, we probably, it's not a big issue, and I want people to know that we're not changing a name that's costing a lot of money to the city or the community, or any inconvenience too.
Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. We do have a motion and a second. No further comments. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. We're going to move on to grants, and we got one person here on the first one, but I would like to move through these other ones pretty quickly if we can, since we're just accepting money with no matches for the most part. And we do have a need to go into executive session to handle 2 items, and I understand from Commissioner Watkins we have someone who makes a presentation. So we're going to go ahead and move 9A as a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a juvenile justice incentive grant from the State of Georgia Criminal Justice Coordinating Council for fiscal year 2022 in the amount of $384,878 with no local match awarded to the Macon Judicial Juvenile Court. And Julie, I apologize if I don't know your last name. If you'll move up there to that microphone there, just give us a little brief information so commissioners have a better understanding of what the materials that we provided them go with.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
We have been providing services, this specific service.
Excuse, and if you identify yourself for them
I'm
as well.
sorry, Julie Griffin with Juvenile Court of Macon-Bibb County. We have been providing services through this Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. It's called the Juvenile Justice Incentive Grant. They provide FFT, which is functional family therapy. We actually provide children and the family counseling within the home. So they go in and they work on communication skills, de-escalation skills, helping them with their peers. The ultimate goal with this is to prevent our juveniles from being locked up. They get adjudicated delinquent for acts. We can go in and say, well, Your Honor, we have this service, we can provide this kid, can we help them with counseling services so that they would not be locked up? So we try to keep them out. We've gone over the years from hundreds of juveniles being detained down to about 20 a year. So we've made a huge dent in locking up our juveniles and trying to give them the skills and the opportunities to move forward without that delinquent record.
Great information. Thank you for that, and thank you for giving us the update on that and providing all the information that you do. Believe, again, this is no local match. We do have a motion and a second. Commissioner Tillman, you have a follow-up?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the work that y'all are doing. I've worked in the past with Mindy Benderman, who's the former director of Fighting for Children and those young folks in the juvenile system. I think now is the perfect time to say this and to bring this up. Senate Bill 440, which was put into law under Zell Miller and former Senator Robert Brown, has crippled Georgia's children, and nobody's advocating for it. No attorneys, not your office or anyone. And that is those young men and women out there aged 13 to 17 years of age that's tried as an adult. So as we advocate for counseling and so forth, I would like to see your office step up and begin to advocate to stop prosecuting these young kids as adults. We have a 14-year-old right now that name is all over 13 WMAZ, and that's why I left earlier to go and talk to the district attorney and others to see why that child's name is all over 13 WMAZ in the newspaper, and who made that decision, and why was it a decision so fast to say we're going to prosecute this child as an adult. Her office said it wasn't her. I understand that when one of the 7 deadly sins happened, that it is Superior Court's issue. I think this body and advocates need to understand that we've got to begin to try to change some of this stuff. If we're going to sit here and advocate for young folks, and in the United States of America, there are thousands of young men in prison, kids from age 13 to 17, everywhere all over in the world, there are 21. And so Senate Bill 440 is a travesty and remains to be a travesty in the state of Georgia. With these 7 deadly sins, what people need to understand that if this alleged young person is convicted, they'll be convicted through juvenile court or Superior Court, and they will go to the Department of Juvenile Justice. And on the day he turns or she turns age 18, they'll be sent to a state prison for however long. And so I'm saying that to bring attention not only to this case, which is a tragedy of a 14-year-old shooting somebody, but we've got to do a better job in protecting the family members because this young 14-year-old who medical doctors say the mind does not fully develop until age 21 is now going to be charged with murder. And young people need to understand that their decisions, and here are the 7 deadly sins that a 13 to 17-year-old can be tried as an adult. And I'm sure you're aware of this. Murder or murder in the 2nd degree, voluntary manslaughter, rape, aggravated sodomy, aggravated child molestation, aggravated sexual battery, armed robbery with a firearm, aggravated assault with a firearm upon a public official, and aggravated battery upon a public safety officer. So I'm going back to what are we doing besides Georgia advocacy? And Mindy Benderman is not there no more. Your office doing to eradicate Senate Bill 440. Zell Miller is no longer here. Senator Robert Brown is no longer here. Nobody's advocating for that. I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Tillman. I don't think we're going to answer that question today, but we will move on to Commissioner Lucas. Commissioner Lucas?
Yeah, a number of the statements made by Commissioner Tillman, I wholeheartedly agree with, especially the advocacy on behalf of children and looking at each situation individually. But my question concerns when you work with a child in a family setting, what would be 2 or 3 examples of things that you feel are just absolutely necessary in that child's prescription, so to speak, of things that they must be involved in?
I can speak vaguely because I don't actually provide this service, but I can go on my knowledge of what the counselors, we have licensed counselors that go into the home. So they have so many meetings, get an understanding of what's going in the home, They get a parent's perspective, the child's perspective, and then they work from there. So it is a plan that is utilized or constructed between the counselor and the family.
Okay, so when does that report go back to the court, back to you
We
at
report
the
monthly.
court?
I get weekly updates, actually. So they'll let me know if they're not making contact or if a parent's not showing up. They let me know how many visits have been missed. So we try to get to that family. I'll make contact with the
Right.
parent to see what's going on. And we do a lot of things with the probation officer. They have weekly contacts between the counselor and the probation officer also. So unilaterally, they are working together. And they contact me to work out any issues that they cannot resolve.
Right. Do they also look and make recommendations as far as the entire family, the needs that they may have,
Yes,
whether they
ma'am.
need food, whether there's
They do.
medical issues, that kind of thing? Is it mandated that these children always be in school?
It is,
Okay.
as long as it's a condition of their probation, which
That-
some of the youth are 16 and you can't make them. But if they're on probation and they're already out of school, then we house them where they're at. We've just actually gotten additional funding for Macon-Bibb to provide, to pay for GEDs for these youth and to pay for any kind of tutorial services they may need. We've just not received the funding yet. It was just approved 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Okay, y'all doing GEDs, but there is high school diplomas are available from an accredited program. So you might want to look at adding that, because a lot of students would like to have the high school diploma as opposed to the GED. There's nothing wrong with either one,
Okay.
but you might want to look at adding the
Sure
high
will.
school diploma
Yes,
as
ma'am.
well.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. 9A is a no local match required. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Got a second by Commissioner Tillman. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries, will be sent to consent agenda. The next item is item 9B, is a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the Community Foundation's grant, Central Georgia, Downtown Challenge 2.0 grant, awarded to the Friends of Rosa Parks Square on behalf of Macon-Bibb County to complete a bid set of plans for Rosa Parks Square redesign in the amount of $43,000 for no local match. Commissioner Bronson, you want to sponsor that? Okay. Commissioner Bronson, would you like to make that motion?
So move.
A motion by Commissioner Bronson, second by Commissioner Lucas. Any further discussion on that item? Commissioner Lucas?
Co-sponsor
Okay.
as well.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item C is a resolution that we discussed, no, we haven't discussed yet. Resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the Community Foundation of Central Georgia Downtown Challenge 2.0 grant awarded to Macon-Bibb County Cooperative Extension on behalf of Macon-Bibb County to equip the historic train building auditorium in the amount of $40,000 with no local match required. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Bronson. Any questions in that regard? Hearing no question, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item D is the final grant motion, the resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a Community Foundation of Central Georgia Downtown Challenge 2.0 grant awarded to Macon-Bibb County for the creation of MLK Small Business District in the amount of $30,000, no local match required. That's Commissioner Ponson. Would you like to sponsor that? And would you like to make that motion? Got a motion by Commissioner Bronson. Can I get a second? Second by Pro Tem Clark. Any discussion in regards to accepting that money? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda today. Item 10 is our final item before we go to executive session. Item 10 is an ordinance to amend Article 2, Chapter 24 of the Code of now reserved for this purpose of adopting the Macon-Bibb County Complete Streets Policy. Commissioner Lucas, would you like to make that motion?
I would.
Got a motion by Commissioner Lucas. Can I get a second? Second by Pro Tem Clark. Any discussion? Commissioner Lucas, would you like to say anything on that?
Yes, sir. The only thing, I have not heard from anybody as to concerns or anything, and I'd like to thank those members of the Pedestrian Safety Review Board who came and made the Complete Streets presentation. The mayor has been in on some of the meetings and has offered suggestions and support to this. And we at this time would like to ask for your support for the adoption of the Complete Streets ordinance. And I think that Macon-Bibb County is leading the pack as far as what we're putting in place to ensure safety for our citizens. Now, the other part of that is actually doing more as far as sidewalks and making sure that any new construction has pedestrian-friendly features in it, you know, blinking this and rumble sticks and all kinds of things that would enhance the safety of our citizens. So I ask for all commissioners to support the Complete Streets concept.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. Pro Tem Clark?
I just wanted to thank briefly Commissioner Lucas on our leadership on this over a number of years and asked to be a co-sponsor.
Certainly. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hear no further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. We're going to do the Family Justice Center Alliance after the executive session, along with one other items. This time, sorry, Pro Tem Clark.
We go into executive session to not take up more of their time. Can we hear from the Booker T. Washington group before we go into executive session?
That's what I was about to do.
Oh, okay, cool.
But
Beat you to it.
But go ahead. If someone would like to come down, let us know what you want to do. Okay.
Okay. Hey y'all, we have this for you.
How y'all doing today?
So, we've been working, I'm Tandra Kabir, and these are some students from the Booker T. Washington Center, and we've been working this summer. Super excited to be back in Booker T, so thank you to Commissioner Watkins, Mayor Miller, and all of you all for helping us to open the Booker T. Washington Center. We've been doing a lot of activities, but yesterday, Commissioner Clark and Commissioner Watkins, who are their commissioners, came by to teach them about government, county government, things of that nature. And so they then created some proposals based on some issues that were important to them. And so I'm going to allow them to present that today. We have, they'll present their name and they'll talk about which is on there first. Ariana, do you want to go first since yours comes up first? Okay, Ariana doesn't want to go first, so we'll have Calvin go. But thank y'all for your time.
Okay, how y'all doing today?
Thank you. If you could speak up and speak into the mic, sir, as we can hear you, okay?
Okay, my name Calvin. One of the issues I put was gun violence. It's a challenge in our community because it's an issue on public safety with the danger of children and adults in our community. Okay, and it brings a population rate down, and it brings community morals down too. And also, it is a cause of major increase in deaths in our community. And action we can do to help stop it is a community space to allow people to learn about gun safety and safety, let out the frustration, and advocate for the improvement of gun technology with advancements that include the hesitation clips on guns.
Thank you.
My name's Janaya. I had food insecurities. The three insecurities I put was food shortages and decreases access to healthy food options, high levels of, what did I say?
Oh, concentrated poverty.
Concentrated poverty,
generally, and people are hungry. I put for my actions how I would help was to open up a community store that offers small scale groceries and reasonable price for, of healthy food, create food farmers markets, and provide food giveaways with healthy foods.
Thank you.
My name, my name is Ariana, and I chose youth development because, wait, all right. Youth development is a necessary activity for our community because youth tend to get bored easily, and kids in the community need a safe place. And also, kids often need food and snacks to eat because sometimes they don't have it at home. And my actions would be I could purchase a building, perhaps downtown, and could operate a kids cafe. And it could bring in positive activities such as video games, contests, and tutoring. It can gather youth, and I can gather the youth through social media, and the kids' ages would be 13 through 17.
Thank you. Let's give these young people a hand.
Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate everything that you're doing over there. We have a great group of young folks as well as young leaders in that community, Booker T. Washington in particular. And I know that that's a great community resource, not only for that area, but for all of Macon-Bibb County. We appreciate you bringing these young children here today, young adults, I won't say children, young adults here today so they can kind of watch part of the process. And we want to make sure one of the most important things you can do for some of you in a couple of years is make sure you register to vote, because without your voice as a participant there, you're going to go unnoticed. So we certainly want to make sure each and every one of you register to vote and exercise that right at all appropriate times. So thank you for being here today. We are going to go into executive session this time for consultations with Commissioner Tillman. Do you have something? We're not doing the.
Yes, sir. Before we do that, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to share the water challenge issue that we're having on July 13th. The mayor spearheaded this warming center idea at Booker T, and he's kind of challenged some of us, and I said, well, we don't own it. Well, lo and behold, a few months later, we now own it, and so so it's been a challenge. So he I don't think he personally went out and just bought it where I could help do some stuff, but he's kind of challenged us and said, well, we need y'all to step up. So the idea of the water challenge is every case of water that's brought, Commissioner Mayor Pro Tem Clark and myself will be issuing a bottle of water on July 13th. Commissioners are receiving their tickets. Now we're going to be doing a special event. So between 1 and 3, the Brookdale Warming Center needs cases of water. So we're asking you all to accept the challenge on July 13th, Tuesday, July 13th, between 1 and 3, and take a case of water, and then be our guest that evening as we entertain those residents over there. And we want y'all to continue that process, and thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Tillman. Has ventriloquist coming through?
Yeah. Be clear, the tickets are for you all's constituents. It's a private event. That particular event is not open to the public, but the water challenge is, and Mayor Pro Tem and I will be sharing more with that through our
I think if we put you in a Dunkin' booth, we could probably bring a lot of water over there. I'm just saying.
Good idea, Mr. Mayor.
Myself too. Thank you for that, Commissioner Tillman, and leading that effort. We continue to support our Brookdale Center, and we do encourage everyone. We all need water, and certainly they need water, and we want to make sure we make an effort to do that and answer that challenge. We're going to go ahead and move on to executive session, and then we'll come back out and do a couple of items. For the purposes of consulting with the attorney for legal counsel to discuss pending potential litigation, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, and all other allowed by law. So this time I get a motion to go into executive session. Got a motion for Commissioner Tillman. Can I get a second? Second by Pro Tem Clark. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. We're now in executive session. This time I entertain a motion to come out of executive session. Motion by Pro Tem Clark, second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries, and we're now in executive session. We do have a couple of items to take care of in one presentation. I'm going to go ahead and move on to item 13A, which is a resolution to appoint Reginald A. Brown to Chief Information Officer of Macon-Bibb County. On the screen, you'll see Mr. Brown, and some information has been contained in the documents already, but I want him to come up to the podium in just 1 second. Mr. Reginald Brown. So we have a process in place, and we have, it's been my recommendation to this commission to hire Reginald A. Brown as our Chief Information Officer, IT Director. I'm asking for the commissioner to approve that. We have a substantial information on Mr. Brown, including all of his accomplishments, his education, and we've completed our background checks on him and his resume, and he has been unanimously selected by our committee as the #1 candidate remaining in our pool. And we had a rather large pool of 22 people that we deemed qualified to lead Macon-Bibb County, and it's my recommendation for this commission for Reginald A. Brown to be selected as the new IT Director of Macon-Bibb County. And that's my motion. Can I get a second? Got a second by Commissioner Jones. Before we take a vote, right now Mr. Brown is in Hampton, Georgia, and he has graciously will accept the offer, I'm assuming, that we're making to him on this right here. And just want him just to introduce yourself just briefly for everyone at home and then those people who are here today.
Thank you, sir. Name's Reginald Brown. I've been working in IT for about 25 years. I come back with a military background of 12 years. I enjoy what I do, and I look forward to working with Macon and improving technology as it goes forward.
I appreciate you being here today, and that's my recommendation. We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion from commissioners? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda today, and we'll have that final vote at 1 o'clock during our regular, actually after our call board meeting today. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
We're going to move on now. We have one final item for presentation today. That is a Family Justice Center Alliance. We'll have a presentation at this time, and then after that we will adjourn for lunch, and we'll be back at 1 o'clock for an e-bid hearing as well as a call meeting. This time I'd like to recognize the floor to Ms. Dee Sims and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're here for today, Ms. Sims.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, for giving us the opportunity to talk with you today and share about the Family Justice Center movement. My name is Dee Sims, and I'm the Executive Director for Crisis Line and Safe House of Central Georgia. At Crisis Line, we provide services. We're a dual program. We provide services to victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. In that capacity, we have a shelter, legal advocacy services, as well as attorneys on staff, a counseling center, and a sexual assault center where we provide forensic services and advocacy to victims of sexual assault. We began to look at coordinating co-locating services for victims in our community based on a grant that was released by the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council of Georgia. They had done substantial research and decided that it was prudent to invest in this movement in the state of Georgia. Macon-Bibb was very fortunate to be one of 3 locations in the state of Georgia to serve as pilot sites for bringing the Family Justice Center movement to Georgia. Crisis Line is the lead agency in receiving that grant. It's $400,000 over the next 4 years, $100,000 each year. The first 2 years we will be in the planning process and then moving into the actual opening of a Family Justice Center in our community. Today, we started the process of the planning and all with our study tour. We have members from the Hope Alliance, or Alliance for Hope International that have been with us starting this morning with a community forum. We had over 50 people that were present with us at the Sports Hall of Fame that heard about the Family Justice Center movement, heard about how it will benefit our community as well as Georgia as we serve as an example of what can be done to take us to that next generation of victim services. I think all of us know that the more resources that we have available for victims, the better off we are as a community. The more apt they are to participate in the criminal justice process, and they are better served. They are empowered to speak out and be a part of that process when they have the resources available to them. What we want to do through the Family Justice Center movement is provide those services in one location, so victims are not having to go all over our community seeking the services that they need to be able to better participate in the criminal justice process. We have two center directors with us today, one from Maryland and one from Texas. And I hope that while they're here doing this study tour over today and tomorrow, that you will have the opportunity to talk with them, learn about the benefits of the Family Justice Center movement, and actually invest. We are hoping for your support. We are asking for your support for this initiative because it's very important. We think it fits in very nicely with Macon violence prevention and what we are trying to do as a community to, crime prevention, but also to shore up the services. Historically, we know that back in the early 1990s, there was no victim bill of rights. Victims didn't have an opportunity to be heard. They didn't even really have an opportunity to participate in the criminal justice process. We've come a long way from that. We have our shelter programs. We have sexual assault centers. We have a lot of services. This Family Justice Center will take us into that next generation. I would like to take the opportunity to introduce you to Sarah Shank. With the funding that we have received from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, we have been able to hire Sarah as a site coordinator. She will be, I'm sure, contacting each of you as we move forward with our study tour and as we move forward into the strategic planning that is set for October. I'm sure Sarah's going to be reaching out, but I'd like to give her an opportunity to tell you a little bit about what we did in the community forum this morning, and we appreciate very much your time. I know that you've had a long morning, and we just appreciate your attention and your open ears to hearing what we want to do and what we want to bring to this community. So I'll ask Sarah if here she is.
Good afternoon, Mayor Miller, commissioners. Thank you so much for having us here today. Had the opportunity to address over 50 people at the community forum this morning, folks from our mental health providers, our school district, sheriff's office, our generous foundations, and it was a really incredible event. But I wanted to share with you just a couple of pieces. First off, I think it's important to let you know the partners in our community that have already signed on for this initiative, and we're just thrilled about it. One being, of course, the government of Macon-Bibb County. We also have the district attorney's office, the solicitor general's office, Crescent House, Crisis Line and Safe House, Central Georgia CASA, Family Counseling Center, Bibb County Sheriff's Office, DFACS, Resilient Middle Georgia. We've got a lot of people at the table already having this conversation, which is really exciting. But a couple of things that I just want to impress upon you on why Macon is really advocating to bring this Family Justice Center movement here. It's no secret that we're well-resourced in Macon. We've got great services. Of course, there's kind of the other side of that. When you have great services, you obviously have a need for those services in the community. But we believe strongly that the future of Macon really falls in these collaborative efforts and these coalitions to bring these services together and create coordinated community response. Just to share with you, the Bibb Sheriff's Office had over 12,000 calls come into dispatch just last year that they coded as domestic. And that's over 10% of the calls that come into dispatch, close to 40 a day. And that number rose during 2020. Of course, every call like that comes into dispatch results in one of our deputies going out to wherever that call came from. And we know that that's tough for our deputies right now when we have a shortage and are trying to recruit more. That's a lot of calls. Each one of those has a victim. We had over 1,000 domestic violence offenses, over 300 sex crime offenses, all throughout our community. And this touches every single district, every single demographic category that you could have. We've got a problem here in Macon, and these are our community members. So we're excited about these opportunities to take these great resources, bring them under one roof. The Family Justice Center in itself is not a service provider. We're the conduit. We have the opportunity to put the victims at the center where they don't have to bounce around town, where they don't have to get re-traumatized telling their story. And we're so excited about that. So we have Dr. Denise McCain from Maryland. We have Michelle Morgan from Fort Worth, Texas, who have joined us today and tomorrow to talk with our various community members and learn more about what we're already doing in Macon and where we can improve. So we're just really thankful. I'm thankful for all of you who I've had the opportunity to speak with so far. I hope we can answer any questions that you may have, but thank you for the support, Mayor Miller, and thank you for the opportunity to address you today.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? You didn't come all this way not to speak now.
I was going to say I'm here. I may as well, right? Good morning, Mayor Miller and members, commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here. We've had an opportunity to tour a little bit of your lovely town, and it's great, and we're really happy to be here. Again, my name is Denise McCain. I am the director of the Prince George's County Family Justice Center, which is in Maryland. We're about 15 miles outside of Washington, D.C., and we border the state of Virginia. I'm here really just to reemphasize the importance of buy-in and collaboration for this model, which, by the way, the Department of Justice has identified this as a best practice. And as you can imagine, for very obvious reasons, it's much more efficient, it's more effective, and it's more holistic. What I can share with you about Prince George's County is that we, unfortunately, led the state in the number of domestic violence homicides. From 2010 up until 2016, which is when our facility opened, we were in double digits. Domestic violence was a serious problem, and we were seeing deaths at an alarming rate. We unfortunately knew that the way we were operating was not conducive to improving the response for survivors or helping them to remain safe, or for that matter, even holding offenders accountable. The Family Justice Center model brought in 22 organizations, 6 government, the remaining are all private nonprofit, and we have effectively reduced crime rates. Prior to COVID, we were down to 2 deaths, which of course is too many, but when you're in 16, 18, 20 deaths a year, and we're down to 2, it speaks to the benefit and the value of how collaborating, having all of the resources and services together in one location facilitated that process. Victims are much more aware of what's available to them, and moreover, they're more willing to participate in the criminal justice process, and we're able to get those resources to them. So this model, without the support, much like this body here, our county council and commissioners all voted unanimously to support this effort. Our county executive provided about $3 million to renovate a building that is our standalone Family Justice Center. And more recently, commissioners, a body such as yourself, also gave us money to buy a van because transportation was an issue. So again, I just leave you with stating that support is key to the success of this effort. And again, I encourage you all to really consider it and hope that you will provide the support here in Macon that's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will add that I was more than happy to do the letter of support. for this initiative here prior to the grant being awarded. And I hope that Macon-Bibb County plays some small part, at least, in making this effort a success. We look forward to working with you through the MVP program, the Macon Violence Prevention that we discussed. I know you have an event going on today as well with speaking with victims, and I think that's important. This commission recognizes that we had an issue here in Macon-Bibb County, and I think we're certainly on board as a commission to do whatever we can to work in cooperation with you and let you lead, and we'll be there for assistance. So anyone else like to address us today?
Dee's pressuring me up here. So, hello, my name's Michelle Morgan. I'm Vice President and Director of the Family Justice Center from Fort Worth, Texas, called One Safe Place. I think just to speak to what you're already doing in terms of your MVP program that you have is our lead agency of our Family Justice Center is a nonprofit crime prevention organization, which is kind of a hybrid model. Traditionally, it's somewhere in the government, courts, district attorney's office, or a domestic violence, sexual assault organization are typically the leads. For us, we decided that it was important that when we're looking at the crime rate in our county, if you are going to address the crime rate and have specific strategies around prevention of the crime rate, you have to address domestic violence, because that is what single-handedly was driving our crime rate in our community. And so I do think that with what the pandemic, of what that brought us, where you all are moving, I think that the Family Justice Center is a perfect fit for you all to go to that next level. In our community, we looked at a landscape. It was 30 different locations that a victim had to potentially go to get all of those services to get out of that sort of situation. And so our system inadvertently had created all these barriers. And so that Family Justice Center can begin to break down some of those barriers and have people and systems work together and really enhance systems across the spectrum and really doing some coordinated community care. And I just say, from Texas, I was raised in Texas, been there all my life. As a Southern state from you all, I told the community forum earlier that us Southerners are behind the wave. In Texas, they used to say, oh, they can do this in California, but we're our own republic. And my response was, well, do you know that when we were having a war down in Iraq, that Jordan in the Middle East opened up a Family Justice Center? So if the Middle East can do this, then we can do this. And so I am so excited that the criminal justice coordinating community has really prioritized this, and you all are one of the special elite here in Macon-Bibb County to be able to receive this. Thank you so much for allowing us to come in and share our experiences and our expertise with you all. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that, and I think of everything you said, and I listened to all of it, the community-oriented community care, coordinated community care, the 3 C's, was some of the most important thing. We do look forward to working with you. I'm very excited about this initiative, and like I said, we play a small part to it, but we're certainly a big resource. We look forward to working together. We're very hopeful that we have our own center here in a couple of years, and I know the next 2 years is going to be very important to get as much data as we can, and that's why I'm glad you hit the ground running this morning and you're enjoying our city. Make sure you spend some money while you're here. We certainly appreciate that. And I look forward to, we thank you for providing the lunch for us today. We're going to move to that very next thing before our next meeting. So if there's any closing remarks, we'll hear those at this time. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and get the rest of our meeting finished so we can take a brief recess into our next meeting. So thank you for being here today. I see our solicitor here. Thank you for always being there and leading the effort in your court. And we certainly don't take anything for granted that you do there. And we certainly support you in all your efforts as well. So this time we are through with the presentations for the day. We have no other further business today. I do think that maybe someone had a time for privilege. Or Mr. Tillman, yours has already been addressed there. You still got another one?
On the Senate Bill 440 and 441 earlier. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's been a good morning, very productive work this morning that we have. We are going to adjourn in just a second. Remember, we'll be back here at 1 o'clock for an e-bid hearing for anyone to address the Eisenhower Business District at that time in an open platform. And then shortly after that, we'll proceed with our agenda for our special call meeting, approving or denying some things that we had on our agenda for earlier today. that's been published. So if there's no further business that brings us here, we'll be adjourned until 1 o'clock.